What's cracking, traders? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon GO Battle League content. And in today's video, we're going to be showcasing a Pokemon and a team that absolutely destroys the Fantasy Cup. It is the most broken Pokemon, in my humble opinion, and it almost took me to Veteran. I played all my sets today. Unfortunately, I was just one win shy. But Roasty Toasty Turtonator is the dominant thing that I am alluding to in this video. Turtonator with Incinerate, Flamethrower, and Dragon Claw. Now, in this video, I do run it with Dragon Pulse. I spent about 20 TMs, trainers, trying to get Dragon Claw. My Turtonator in the game refused. It kept going back to Dragon Pulse, so I ran it in these sets, but I would absolutely run Dragon Claw if you can. We're going to be backing up this Turtonator with a Shiinotic, which is a really spicy pick by most standards, but the Grass Fairy typing allows this thing to do well against most of the dragons, and also really do well against a lot of the Mud Slappers that are just running around everywhere. And in the back is a safe switch. We're going to be running Corviknight, our pivot, in bad leads. Turtonator usually gets set up with this thing, and it just goes off to the races. The fire and dragon coverage cannot be understated in this meta. Let's get into the games, trainers. Let's get into the first game where we see Excadrill. And so when I see Mud Slap, I usually associate Fairy at some point alongside that as well. So what we're going to end up seeing here is the opponent bringing in the Azumarill. We're bringing in the Shiinotic right away. We can always tank one Ice Beam, by the way, from the opposing Azumarill. However, I think this might be IV dependent. It might not be. It might just be my bad luck. But it seems that the second Seed Bomb leaves the Azumarill just shy of being knocked out if you don't get the right amount of Astonishes in. So from right here, I'm CMP tying the Azumarill, wanting to get the Seed Bomb in before the opponent can get to the Ice Beam. And this happened to me so many times with the Shiinotic today, man. I don't know that there's a better alternative, right? If you're looking for alternatives, like you could throw... Basically, I had two teams in the team video that I did yesterday that focused on Turtonator with a lead, and then I had Empoleon, Corviknight in the back, and I also had Shiinotic and Aegislash, I think, in the back. So I kind of mixed the two teams together, and they formed a really nice team that worked really well today in my sets. So we're going to be shielding up this Togekiss here. It is only Rock and Aura Sphere. I want to make sure it's not running some other like weird move. Like I've seen some with Dazzling. If they're a safe switch, they're usually on Size Shock or Sphere. If they're in the lead, I find them most often running Dazzling Gleam. I also saw one with Ancient Power today as well, so that was something that we encountered. We're going to be getting the final shield off the opponent. They're going to bring back in that Excadrill, but as soon as they drop that final shield, I know that I can go for a payback, and if I have to, I could have shielded as well, but I can always live one move from either of these two Pokemon, and so I'm going to go for the payback. It's going to hit like a truck, bro. Boom! And we're going to be able to take the first game well played to the opponent. Next game, we got Corviknight. Really nice lead. We're going to be looking to stay in. The opponent likely to swap out, and they do, into an Empoleon, which is not a terrible matchup for Turtonator. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to swap into Corviknight to try and start applying sand attacks. I probably should have stayed in. I didn't realize the opponent was going to throw their Hydro Cannon right as soon as they got to it. Would have gotten a whole Incinerate for free in that case, but we take what we get here. The opponent's going to be going for Hydro Cannons, and I'm also realizing, I mean, I kind of realized when I took the first one that I was going to barely be able to take the second, but when I no-shielded that, I kind of decided, okay, I'm going to be fine if I don't end up getting switch advantage here. I'm just going to let Turtonator cook. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get the shield from the Empoleon, land an Air Cutter, bring in the Turtonator. The opponent does not throw any fast moves. They just want to full send that move right away, and they go for the Drill Peck. If you are against a Turtonator with an Empoleon, you do typically want to go for the Hydro Cannon, because even though it is a Dragon type, it is also a Fire type. Opponent has a Dedenne in the back, and this loaded Turtonator is about to make this thing feel some absolute pain. Going for the Flamethrower. The opponent's final shield is gotten here, and they're just going for their Parabolic Charge. The opponent wanting to get to a move before I can. Parabolic Charge is not going to do very much against our Dragon typing. We're going to go for the Flamethrower. I was kind of thinking the opponent might catch here, but thankfully they did not. We're going to be going for that Flamethrower. Not even knocking out, dude. No, I run Flamethrower over Overheat for a reason, right? Because I don't want to have to debuff myself to do extra fire damage. So that's the choice that I've made. However, if you wanted to run yours with Overheat, it does do a lot more damage, I believe, than Flamethrower. And we're going to be able to get this Corviknight nice and toasty, bro. We're just going to light him on fire, send him up. Flamethrower does a lot of damage here and brings it down into a range where the Shiinotic can go for a Moonblast. The opponent does know that the game is over. They're going to concede. Good game, well played. Next game, Turtonator is going to be looking at an Azumarill, and I'm like, get it away from me. We're going to swap into the Corviknight. And the opponent stays in for a moment, then brings in a Dugtrio, and this is a really great scenario here. The opponent brings in their Mud Slapper. Like, Corviknight Shiinotic as a backline beats up the Mud Slapper teams, and it does very nicely at doing so. Opponent's going to be going for a charge move here with our Alolan Dugtrio, which does have typically Iron Head Mud Bomb, so Corviknight does not have to worry about this energy, but the Mud Slaps will add up. They are single resisted. You're going to do quite a bit, though, in addition to that Mud Bomb. Getting kind of low. I can't really take another Mud Bomb here, so I'm going to look to overfarm on energy after shielding up and go for this Air Cutter. And what I'm hoping is if even if the opponent does not shield this, which I find they're not likely to do, I'm going to be able to get a farm down after this, so we're going to look to fish for the attack boost and farm down. And then the opponent's going to have to bring in that Azumarill or whatever's in the back here. And if they bring in the Azumarill, we're okay. But the opponent brings in Galarian Stunfisk, and I'm like, Trainer, hello? They really want to save... No, they really want to save the Azumarill for my Turtonator. That's why they brought this in. I understand why they did this play. But unfortunately for them, we have Shiinotic, which just kind of... It just eviscerates the rest of this team. So I'm going to force the opponent to throw their energy here. I was going to try to go for an Air Cutter if they would let me, but they do throw. I'm going to go ahead and let this go all day. Shiinotic is the win condition in this game. I'm bringing in my Turtonator here to try and see if I can't get an Incinerate through. I'm just forcing the energy off of this thing. And they're going to go for the Rock Slide. The opponent's Stunfisk goes down to the Incinerate, and we're going to bring in Shiinotic to be able to finish up this game here. Shiinotic is just going to need to land a couple of Seed Bombs, typically, and then even if we don't, for some reason, I know the pacing, we're going to be able to get to 3 Seed Bombs here if we need to. But if we absolutely had to, we get the opponent low enough with 1 Seed Bomb plus the Astonishes that even Turtonator could probably finish it off with a Flamethrower. So... we're going to be shielding up this Ice Beam here. The opponent can never hold 2 Ice Beams, so I know that I can get to 2 Seed Bombs before they are able to get to the final Ice Beam that they are going to need to get the knockout. We're going to go for 1Z, 2Z Seed Bombs, going to knock out here and take the Azumarill down, and we're going to be able to continue a nice little streak with this team. I had a really solid couple of sets here at the end after I kind of figured everything out. And 7-3, and the 3 losses, essentially, genuinely, I think that the 3 losses that I had in these sets they might have been play-based, but I genuinely feel like I had a lot more, like, really weird team comps, and this, I think, was one of them. Opponent's going to have an Ember Turtonator, which has actually better pacing than Incinerate, but the fast move damage, unfortunately, is not quite there. I'm going to go ahead and stay in... go for as much energy as I can here before the opponent throws, but they do decide they're going to throw a Flamethrower. So I'm going to shield up just in case it is a Flamethrower. I was like, if you have Ember, you're probably not going to be baiting me with a Dragon Claw. And so they do have the Flamethrower and shield that up. The opponent goes and shields up the Air Cutter in return, and I'm like, I should stop what I'm doing. And I should probably fight for switch advantage here, but I don't. I'm going to go ahead and let the Flamethrower take us out here, and Turtonator is going to be able to get an Incinerate down, and I'm kind of wondering if I've made a mistake, and I see the Azumarill, and I'm thinking, yes, I probably have. However, the opponent's Dugtrio Azumarill Core is incredibly weak to Shiinotic, and I had a little glitch with my software that I use for recording. I must have, like, bumped up against the cable or something, and it just like stopped the recording, so I had to plug it back in. So it wasn't very much that I missed here. It was really just a charge move, but the opponent went for an Iron Head there, and we're going to be able to shield that up, go for these Seed Bombs, and the opponent's Ice Beam will not be enough to knock out the Shiinotic from this range, so we're just going to be able to keep firing off these Seed Bombs and get to another Seed Bomb as well before the opponent should be able to get to 2 Ice Beams that would be needed to knock us out, and then Turtonator again can just do Turtonator things from this point on. So we're going to be able to take them out. Hopefully, a Seed Bomb's kind of close from this range. We're going to be able to take the knockout here. Good game to the opponent. Well played. We're getting into the next battle here. Turtonator looking at a Corviknight singing happily as it's about to spit fire at it, and the opponent's going to switch into their own Turtonator. And this right here, this game is where I fully and completely regret not spending the extra TMs on Dragon Claw, because you're going to see Dragon Pulse, from my prior experience, leaves Turtonator deep in the red, and since I'm ahead by a turn, I should be able to win this matchup. However, I'm not sure how much Dragon Claw does. I assumed it would do less than it did, and my goodness, that hurts. So now I'm going to be able to get the opponent's second shield with this Dragon Pulse, but at what cost? They're going to be having a very healthy Turtonator. I'm going to swap in my Corviknight because at this point, that's really the only thing that I have available to me here. They're going to be going for the Overheat that drops their attack, but they're going to swap right back into the Corviknight. The opponent in a very good spot against me in this game simply because the TMs were not kind to me. I have since put it on Dragon Claw. Go figure. It was after these battles. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it again. It was the first TM. Dude. The game is literally just...
Got him!
That's how the game treats me. It's just like, here, buddy, you're going to spend 25 TMs to get this one move for no good reason. Anyway, Payback is going to do a lot of damage here. I'm going to look to come in with Shiinotic and get the snipe, but the opponent still has that Turtonator. I'm hoping that with the shield, I can get to a Moonblast and knock out the Turtonator, but the opponent has a Shadow Heatran in the back. Yeah, at this point, I realize that my game is lost here. There's nothing that I can do at this point. I shield meaninglessly because I want to see if I get this Moonblast off, but it's not going to matter. It's not even enough. The opponent comes back in with a Turtonator, and I immediately lose the game to the saucy, spicy Shadow Heatran, and I respect it. Now, that was unfortunately a loss that prevents me from probably getting to Veteran all on its own, but we take a 4-1. That's a nice start to these sets here, and then we're going to be going into the next game. We got a really nasty lead here. I swear, like, as soon as I hit that 4-1, all of a sudden everybody was running something completely different, so I'm now caught off guard with a Goodra lead. Now, I do realize that my Shiinotic walls the energy of Goodra typically. However, I'm forced to swap in my Corviknight because Turtonator really has no business playing that matchup out. I would rather bring in my Corviknight and see if I can't maybe get the opponent to swap out, which in this case they have. We do get the Corviknight of the opponents out here, which is a nice bait out for Shiinotic, which is exactly what Corviknight is here to do. It's trying to get their Corviknight or the Turtonator, whatever fire they might have as well, except for when the opponent has 2 fires that you just lose. But Turtonator's going to be going for an Incinerate down here. The nice thing about Turtonator is that the Dragon type charge attack energy that it has really allows it to fire back against those dragons that it struggles with. The opponent going to come back in with the Goodra, and we're going to get a shield or do a lot of damage with this Dragon Pulse. This is not going to land. The opponent, however, is going to have an Empoleon in the back, and so the Metal Sounds are ripping apart my poor Shiinotic. I need to make this is a very careful endgame, by the way. We don't lose this. Stick around. Check it out, man, because this is a crazy win, in my opinion. We're going to be going for a Seed Bomb here, try and get the shield off the opponent, and look to try and fire off the next move immediately. But the opponent, however, is going to be able to get to a move here. So I'm going to go ahead and shield that Drill Peck up. Now I have to go for the Seed Bomb immediately because I cannot afford to take any more Metal Sound damage because that might put me down within like Thunder Punch or Aqua Tail range. So we're going to be going for a farm up here. The opponent brings in the Goodra, throws the Aqua Tail here, and it's not enough. It's not enough. Aqua Tail and the Fairy type is double resisted here. I'm going to go for 2, wait a turn, swap, and catch the move on Turtonator as the opponent would have been trying to throw that move right in the middle of my third Astonish there. Opponent tries to go for an undercharge, but is not successful in getting the energy that they need, and we, with like 1 or 2 HP, this Shiinotic is hanging on with dear life, going for the Moonblast. I'm going to get the knockout. Good game to the opponent. All right. We are 1-0 in this set. We just need to get like a 4-1 to hit Veteran. We hit a Dugtrio lead. This is really nice. I'm going to go for 2 Incinerates and then swap, and the opponent brings in their Azumarill, and I'm like, man, I really, really wish that I could have caught this with my Shiinotic, but unfortunately not quite the case. The opponent going to be able to fire off a move, and it's a Hydro Pump, dude! I have not seen somebody run Hydro Pump, and unfortunately, because they're not running Ice Beam, I feel like that kind of loses me the game here because they're in a really good position to farm me down if they want to. And then what do I do about that energy, right? So we're going to be going for as many Air Cutters as humanly possible into this Azumarill here, trying to fish for a boost, but I am, like, incredibly unlucky when it comes to boosts. I don't think I got really any, except for that one, and we're going to be able to force the opponent's energy here. Now, I think I'm going to come in with Shiinotic, and I'm going to hope that we can beat whatever's in the back with it. Shiinotic's going to get the Astonished farm down. What's in the back? The opponent has one final Pokemon that's not that Azumarill. They're going to reveal it, hopefully, because they can't come in with the Azumarill here, man. They just couldn't. And it's Togekiss. So, yeah, this is not going well. It's a 2-shield Togekiss. I'm pretty sure that's just going to manhandle my Shiinotic with the peck damage, so we're going to be able to get a shield with the Flamethrower, and I kind of have to shield everything and just pray that Shiinotic can bring this game home for us. Going to go ahead and no-shield that move because I know that the opponent's Togekiss has basically 2 moves loaded, so I'm never really going to be able to make much use of that shield, so I'm just going to put it all on the back of Shiinotic, hope that these Astonishes are going to do enough damage. I'm just going for Seed Bombs. If I can land a Seed Bomb, that's useful damage. I can start farming down after that, but the opponent does farm, or they do shield that up, and so our Astonishes are going to be bringing them pretty low. Togekiss is in farmish range. Like, we have to be very careful here. I don't think I can trust it, so I'm going to go ahead and throw the Seed Bomb anyway. And I'm going to try and go for a bit of an undercharge, see if I can't get one more. Well, Undercharged because I saw them bring in the Azumarill. I remember in the moment I saw the Azumarill come in, and that's why I undercharged it. But the opponent has the Ice Beam, and unfortunately, all is for naught here, as they would have got to a charge move anyway. Good game to the opponent. Very well played. Next game, this is a deceptively good lead. You see, you would expect that a Fairy type into a Dragon type is good for the Fairy type, but Turtonator looking to turn that one on its head and make sure that Dedenne knows its place. The opponent, however, is going to bring in a Togekiss, which is, I think, a little bit more uncomfortable for this team than I really care to admit. We're going to be going for the Flamethrower here. Turtonator looking to apply some pressure, get that shield down, and then I'm going to bring in Corviknight here. I think now I have made a mistake. As soon as I bring in the Corviknight, I have this realization of, like, their switch timer is going to be up very soon, and I'm not getting the 2 air cutters to be able to do anything about this Togekiss and knock it out. So now I'm going to be leaving my Corviknight open to be just farmed by this Dedenne. So we're going to be looking to go for a payback if I can get to it, but the opponent throws energy, and I'm like, all right, we're going to let this go. The opponent, however, is going to be able to get a defense buff here, so that makes things a little bit trickier, but Turtonator is going to come in, and I'm actually going to fire off this Flamethrower immediately because I do not want to let the opponent get to a play rough before I can fire off my Flamethrower potentially. We're going to get the final shield off of them, and at this point, dude, I'm just hoping that Shiinotic is going to be able to do some work. However, the opponent does seem to value this Dedenne. They want to land this damage, and so I'm actually going to I'm going to go ahead and shield that up, and I'm going to let my Shiinotic come in as soon as I see the Azumarill, and I'm like, man, I wish I had just saved the shield for the Azumarill Shiinotic matchup instead. But, of course, there's no way that I could have possibly known that would be back there until I showed it, but Shiinotic's going to be doing what it can, and however, I do remember that Shiinotic Seed Bombs will leave the Azumarill down in range of about 1 Incinerate being able to get this knockout, and so what we're going to do is we're going to go for the Seed Bomb, try and get it down into that range, and get that 1 Incinerate through if possible. However, I believe this is 4 charge attacks being thrown, and that means that the timer is going to be pretty much up. The opponent's timer is up. They swap immediately, and Togekiss gets to a move against my Turtonator. Oh, it's too spammy, man, but the Incinerate knocks it out. Can we get to the Flamethrower here? We do have it loaded. We're going to go for it. It's enough to knock out the Dedenne, and all I need is 1 Incinerate to land against the Azumarill, but unfortunately, we're within range of 1 bubble, and we're going to get knocked out. It was so close, man. All right, trying to pick it up, though. Next game, we get another Goodra lead, and I know what I did last time. I'm going to do it again this time because it's the most sensible thing. I'm never going to just hard swap in my Shiinotic because I don't want the opponent to be able to bring in the thing that I have that's basically the hardest. Like, they can't... I almost made it through a whole video with my brain shutting down. We almost made it, man. All right, anyway. I don't want to bring in Shiinotic right away because they may have a hard answer to it, and I'd rather use Corviknight because it's more neutral, and I would rather save the Shiinotic for later if I can, because a lot of trainers are just not expecting Shiinotic. They're not really putting much thought into it as a Pokemon that they need a team build around. So I've seen, like, Mudslap Dragon Cores and Shiinotic just chews through them. Opponent's going to be going for the Thunder Punch, and we CMP tie on this Air Cutter, but the Air Cutter pacing is incredibly quick here, and the opponent is going to have to get to a move here, but where air cutters are so fast, the opponent not able to get to a move or was not expecting the pacing to be that quick. We're going to be able to knock out the Goodra, and with the way that the opponent was playing, they shielded. They wanted to put 2 shields into that Goodra. I feel, based on the way that they've played, that they have an answer in the back for Turtonator. That's why they were so comfortable staying in and shielding the Goodra. So, because of this, I am going to be very careful. I'm not swapping out of this matchup. I will go for the payback, let them farm me down, and put Turtonator on the Corviknight because that is a guaranteed good matchup for Turtonator. And with how low this thing is going to get, I'm hoping Shiinotic with a shield is going to be able to do fine here. Opponent is going to be going for a charge move. They're taking Incinerate damage, which is fine with me. Putting it down into, Moonblast or so range. Opponent going to be going for another move. I'm just going to let this go. I feel like whatever they got in the back is probably a Turtonator answer, so I'm not going to be putting my shield into it. The opponent is going to have a Scizor, and that is definitely not a Turtonator answer. And I feel like I've probably lost this game. So we're going to be going for a Seed Bomb, trying to get some chip damage in. The opponent now within 1 Incinerate range. I'm going to shield up whatever this thing throws. The opponent, however, looking to go for the Bullet Punch farm down, realizing that they're not going to get it after that first one. Going for this Night Slash. I'm immediately tapping this Flamethrower. The opponent did not have a charge move. And we're going to be able to roasty toasty duck. Corviknight going to go down to the Flamethrower, and that's going to be a good game. Well played. Now I'm looking at a 2-2 set. And after getting mauled by the things that I've been mauled by already, I need something good. And we see a Magnezone in the lead in this next game, and that's a really solid lead. Now, the opponent's going to swap into a Dragonair, and I'm not exactly sure what to do about this, but I'm going to bring in my Shiinotic. Probably not the ideal thing to bring in. Corviknight maybe was the right way to go here, but I didn't really trust it at the time. I wasn't sure how that matchup goes because I'm not going to lie, I haven't played a whole lot of Shadow Dragonair matchups since the rework, but we do live 2 body slams. However, we are getting dangerously close to getting knocked out by the opponent's Dragon Breath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the Seed Bombs here, try to get switched. The opponent going to put up a shield. They're going to put up a second shield, and now this puts up a very interesting situation for us as we're going to be able to have a 2-shield advantage and pray that the Turtonator Corviknight core can handle whatever's in the back. We're going to be looking to bring in the Turtonator. I'm actually going to absorb a move here and then look to swap out after maybe 1 more Incinerate. This energy is usually useful, so I'm going to go ahead and try and save some of it and look to try and get a snipe down with the Corviknight. We are successfully able to sand attack down. The opponent is going to bring in the Magnezone, but because we have a 2-shield advantage, I can shield up a move here. If it's a wild charge, it's probably Mirror Shot, to be honest. That's usually what happens in this situation. They want to go for the attack drop. We're going to go for an extra couple sand attacks. Looking to try to go for this payback. Probably could have gone for it before they finished that first one, but I'm going to go ahead and get a little extra energy. Payback is going to knock them out. The opponent has a Goodra in the back, and if I can land this payback, the opponent goes for a move right away. This is an Aqua Tail. We're going to land the payback. That'll knock this Goodra down into range for the Dragon Pulse that we've got loaded, and that's going to clean up this game. Turtonator flexing its absolutely dominant set of energy charge moves to knock out the Goodra. And we're going to hit the button because we can. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude. It took a minute for me to figure out what to run in the Fantasy Cup, but this team just took off. It did so well, and I know that the results are only 7-3 in the video. That's mostly just between team comp and some skill issue. No, you're already here. I'm going to say it, not going to lie, okay? I had a really rough week last week, and so I took some time off of the game to try and get myself a breather. This was my first day of sets back to the game in about a week, so a little bit rusty trying to shake it off, but I feel like the team carried me quite a bit, and Turtonator is really, really strong in the Fantasy Cup, and so I think this team could potentially take you to Veteran or beyond. It's going to take me there pretty much. If I get my sets for tomorrow, this team's going to take me there. I know it is. We're going to be talking about it. It's going to be a great team. Anyway, Turtonator, play it. It's awesome. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.